Fear and love. It occurred to me that I never really talked about these two basic things that are components of almost every experience we have. I showed you the circle in the beginning, walked around the open space, the sky. So the circle, the big sky, this feeling of openness, the heart, open, spacious. This is love. And it's you as a quiet presence. I call it the big eye. So the big eye is always there, never goes away. It's who we really are. I picked something for fear. I picked something man-made. Because most of the fear that causes us problems is man-made. It's also very flat, almost what you could say one-dimensional in comparison to the three-dimensional heart. It's been flattened, actually. It's part of something that's worn out, deteriorated. It's actually part of a natural movement in the world of chaos and order, movement between chaos and order. And in a way, that's a perfect representation of our fear. Because when we enter chaos, whether it's an illness that we can't seem to get a handle on or control, an aspect of our life, of our behavior in life that we can't control, things happening in the greater world, politically, economically, natural disasters that happen, we can't control them. We want to. This as an aspect of ourselves that is something small, very small. This is the little eye within the big eye, driven by fear and the need to control. It's loud. It's very loud. Oh, God. It screams. It's hard not to hear it. This is quiet. Very quiet. So, in this so-called duality, because it isn't really a duality, this fear is actually just a movement in the greater one. The greater one is that feeling, sensation of love. So the key with our fear is that because it's so loud, we are drawn into it, swept up into its thinking, and that's what we become. That's where we live from. And you can see that on the level of people in their personal lives, and you can see it on the level politically. And it's interesting because the periods in our life where there's the most chaos, disorder, are the times that hold the greatest potential for change, for a new order. So that's true for the whole world too. So there's a lot of chaos in the world that affects us. It makes us fearful. And we want to control. Politically, if you're an advocate of President Trump, then you are aligned with his controlling aspects of keeping people out through bans or walls. And a wall, that's an interesting thing. We build walls to our own emotional being. We want to build a wall to this fear. We don't want it in us, so we keep trying to get rid of it like this frisbee. But it's more like a boomerang. It comes right back. It comes right back. The more you try to get rid of it, the stronger it comes back. You energize it by the effort to control it and live by it. But then again, the people that want to replace President Trump, it's because of fear too. Regardless of how one spin in the circle, that's duality. Okay, that's duality. Love and fear are really not duality. Love is reality, and fear is not, because it's manufactured through our perception. But it energizes us. We can't stop thinking. What do we do? What do I do with my fear? If trying to get rid of this energizes it and strengthens it, if putting up walls actually blocks us to our own deep truth that we are, then we must realize that we are this greater circle that this circle on the land reflects. That is open, loving, spacious, first of all, to our fear, to our terror, to our pain. So it would be as if whatever you think too much about and you can't stop thinking about and are afraid of, rather than wrestle with the polar opposites, bring it in to the quiet circle of yourself as soft, relaxed breathing, and all the emotions that get set in place with this: rage, terror, anxiety. And rather than let them own you, you own it lovingly, and let the whole spin move so that it spins itself out through being who you really are. Choosing who you really are. That's what they mean when you are love. Not this idea or concept or that God is love. It's you. It's that presence of here as a soft, loving, compassionate, full of gratitude. So when you get caught up in what you can't control, what you don't like, invoke your gratitude. In a sense, that's the greatest radiance of love, because like the sun shining on me, I receive it and I radiate it back. The circle is completed, and I am the great love in a sense. So choosing love is not to pretend that you don't have fears. It's to keep anchoring yourself in the big I rather than that little I. It's to be the big I to the spinning thoughts, but particularly rage and terror, the extremes. Let them both come in without judgment. What would that look like? Well, I'm just trying to wait for the right thing to help you. And I have to say, a lot of people are disturbed by the political situation, so find out what your anger is about. Bring it in energetically to your body as extremely as you possibly can. But don't believe what it thinks. You're gonna have to give up being right to let this fear spin itself out. You have to give up being right. Being right is just one spin in the circle. And we're angry because it makes us afraid. We're angry because we're in terror. Because something's out making us feel that. So under the anger is, what am I going to do? What's going to happen? That's the deepest, fragile little place inside to connect with. But again, don't believe what it thinks. The big I, it doesn't think. It's you just here. And in this time of change and chaos and movement, we are here to be here. And fear takes us out of this here, into our little eyes, and our concern with our little I. And it's time. It's time. It's time to be the big I. Choose that. Choose the love of the big I. Choose again if you've chosen fear. And hold on to love. As a sense of sitting in it, abiding in it. And make it your path. To function from there as much as you possibly can. Without judgment for when you don't. Be the big I even to your so-called failures. And in that way you are always doing the best you can.